E estamos ao vivo. Olá, pessoal, tudo bem? Hoje uma live muito diferente, muito especial para a gente. Hoje nós estamos com a Vanessa, que é, né, a chefe da Conexão Pagã, é ela quem manda, é o gorila de costas prateado desse canal. E estamos com a Susan Paramore, a queridíssima Susan Paramore, que vai falar hoje com a gente sobre paganismo e bruxaria hereditária. Eu espero que vocês possam acompanhar, que vocês gostem do conteúdo. Se vocês não entenderem, vocês estão super à vontade para perguntar. Eu também não entendo muita coisa de inglês, eu estou aqui para errar também, a Vanessa está aqui para me ajudar. E vamos começar a conversa. Hello, Susan, how are you? Vanessa, como que você está?
Hello from England, near Stonehenge. I live near Stonehenge. So,
yeah.
Nice to meet you, Vanessa.
A Susan é vizinha. A Susan é vizinha do Stonehenge. Ela mora do lado, em Salisbury, right, Susan?
Yes, I live 15 minutes from Stonehenge. I live very, very close. And I have lots of pictures of Stonehenge in my house. And paintings of me at Stonehenge in my druid outfit. Today I'm in...
Susan, ela mora... Yeah, you can talk, please.
Yeah, sure. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for asking me.
You are a big friend of mine, and it's a big pleasure to us to hear you and learn with you. Susan, we can start with a question. We will talk about the paganism and the witchcraft. And I want to start with, what is your definition of the heredity on the paganism and witchcraft?
Well, we'll start with the word hereditary.
Okay.
Because whether you're a pagan or not, you inherit certain qualities. Hereditam, which is the Greek, meaning a condition of being an heir. An heir means the next person to inherit something. And in the character of your genes, they're contained in your parents, and the chromosomes in turn depend on a genetic code which is carried by your DNA. And this is a map of life, your map of life. So you carry that generations and generations of genetic code within you. And it may come out years and years down the line, and you think, why can I do that? And then someone will tell you, your grandmother or your mother, oh, auntie somebody other used to sew. Oh, uncle did this. Your mother, I did this. And in my line, all of the female line, they're all psychics. All of them are psychics. And they can see things and do predictions. So this was passed down without me asking for it. It just happens. So that's hereditary. So there's a lot more to it, which we will talk about. So if you think that this has been passed down, my mother was a pagan, my birth mother was a pagan, and she taught me lots of things while she was alive. My grandmother, on her side, taught folklore. So spoke of it, spoke of fairies and pixies and the folklore and the lore of plants and herbalism. So I do a lot of this. Sometimes it doesn't come to you till later in life, but it happens and it will come down to you through the genetic code. But also, if you are taught, that gives you that extra boost. And to be told things and retain them, I used to write it down because it came so fast to me. You know, it's a blessing, but sometimes it's not what you wish for. Do you understand what I'm saying? So.
Isso. A Susan tá contando pra gente aqui que a mãe dela já era pagã, era bruxa, e a avó dela, ela era tinha muito mais contato com o folclore da Inglaterra. Ela estava contando pra gente antes, inclusive, né, com as fadas, com todos os elementos do folclore inglês, o que pra gente, a gente conhece como contos de fadas e tudo mais, e que depois vem a contar a mãe dela na foto, her mother on this picture, a mãe dela nessa foto, e ela falando que a avó dela trazia esses elementos para ela e que isso é muito forte. E aí ela traz também a palavra a hereditariedade, né? Que é você transportar em você, de alguma forma, pelo seu DNA, pela sua psique, as lembranças, os conhecimentos ali dos seus antepassados. Né? Fica gravado no seu código genético que isso é transmitido cedo ou tarde. Às vezes você tem comportamentos e você não sabe por que esses comportamentos se manifestam, e quando você vai buscar compreender isso, o seu pai, a sua mãe, o seu avô, a sua avó, algum tio, alguém da sua família já se comportava daquela maneira. É isso, Van?
Isso.
Ok, Susan.
Exato.
So, can I ask you a question, Vanessa? Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Tell me about your upbringing of your mother and your grandmother. Tell me how you feel that created the person you are now.
Yeah. My grandmother maybe is the most important person in my life. Let me show you her. She's here.
Oh. Oh, hello, Grandma.
She lived until she died. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
She say hello, Grandma.
Said hello to her, whether she's alive or not.
Oh no, she when she died, she was 102 years old.
Whoa!
She lived all that long. Yeah, she was great, and she taught me many important things. I used to say that she was a Catholic woman from a Catholic family. We are all. I was raised as a Catholic girl, but my grandma, she was a mix of a Catholic woman and a witch, because she made different things than a traditional Catholic woman makes. She was a healer. She was a prayer. And I remember when I was a little girl, every day came people to our home that for my grandma to heal. and she used to make all those long prayers, long healings. And she went to the garden with this person, and I remember all the words she used. She was repeating those words, those prayers, and every day it happens every day in her life. She made this until she was 89 years old. All that long she was receiving people in her house. And I remember all the things she said.
So she had a big,
so for me,
a big influence on your life.
Yes, yes. I have learned many things with her because she has an open mind. She wasn't stuck on Catholicism. She was a mind, and she used to bring to us, to our home, to different kind of experiences. So she has no, how can I say, she has no problem to bring something new for us.
An open mind. Andre, can you translate that into Portuguese?
A Susan perguntou como que a Vanessa, né, trouxe essa, como que é a história da Vanessa, se ela tem um background familiar dentro do paganismo, né? A Vanessa quer responder, Van? Você quer contar em português?
Uma short answer aqui. Eu cresci num lar católico, né? Mas a minha avó, eu digo que ela era a maior bruxa que eu conheci, porque ela fazia esse mix entre o catolicismo e eu vou chamar de bruxaria aqui, né? Que ela fazia coisas muito diferentes para o nosso âmbito familiar, assim. Ela tinha uma mente muito aberta, então ela fazia curas, né? Ela era uma benzedeira. Iam pessoas em casa todos os dias para que ela fizesse essa cura. Então, ela repetia aquelas palavras, aquelas orações, aqueles mantras e aquelas curas, e isso foi uma influência muito forte para mim. Então, eu acabei sendo uma pessoa de mente aberta também, e aí busquei a minha individualidade, vamos dizer assim, né? E depois entrei para bruxaria italiana, e enfim.
Okay.
Right, Susan?
Yeah. Do you want to ask me a question, Vanessa?
Can I ask you a question? As we are talking about mother and grandmother, could you tell us about what your mother and grandmother taught you, and about all the influences they had on you?
Well, that would take all day, but I'll try and keep it small. My grandmother had a wonderful name called Dorothy Gwendolyn Sanders. Gwendolyn, wonderful name. And this is on my mother's side, and she wrote poetry, and she was published as a poet, and she sang. She was always singing, and she played the violin. She played in the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra.
Wow.
Yeah. So when she taught my mother the folklore of Devon, as she went along in life, not a sit-down lesson, just naturally. So when she died, she was 96, so not quite as old as your grandmother. And she had a very traditional Yeah, she had a very traditional funeral with horses, black horses, carriages with a glass carriage with black bloom feathers, and I walked behind my grandmother's, and I was asked to sing at her funeral. So I sang, and people were like, oh, because they said I looked like her. I looked like a reincarnation of her. And they couldn't, and even my voice and my singing was the same as her. And people were like, and I thought, oh, they're looking at me, you know, oh, have I done this right? But they were astonished that I had the same voice as her. So this is about characteristics. And as I walked behind the horse-drawn funeral, I thought to myself, I couldn't understand why people were staring at me so much, because I looked so much like her when she was younger, apparently. So her knowledge, I'm very grateful, was passed to my mother, who then, when I went walking with her, my mother, Sylvia Rose, we would stop. We would not walk a straight walk. We would always be stopping, and she'd be saying, look at this. This is a plant for making ointments. This is a plant for this. This is a flower for this. We never got very far because we were always stopping all the time to talk, all the time talking. And she would tell me the properties and the law and the knowledge which had been passed to her, and she wanted to pass it to me. She wanted to give it to me. So I am now myself passing knowledge to my son. So I write things down in a book, and when we talk, I always give him some more information, because I have another side to me. I'm part Jewish as well. So I was taught this as well. But like your grandmother, my mother had a very open mind and studied Egyptology, Mayan culture, Native American Indians. She studied many different religions because she would look at them all. And I think we should all be open-minded, very open-minded. So I'm going to read a piece of poetry of my mother's. So my grandmother wrote poetry, my mother wrote poetry, and I write songs, which is, I guess, a bit like poetry. I don't know. But I'm going to read this. This is by my mother. This is about Dartmoor, where there are a lot of standing stones on the moors. Cold mornings, swirling mists, carpets of purple heather. In between green grass and yellow gorse, she rises golden and beautiful, the sun, giving her warmth to Mother Earth and all that grows in her. Spiders' webs on the gorse, shining in the sun. What a wonderful sight to behold, and the work that spiders done. Songs of birds on the wing, giving sweet music for all to hear. Bees getting the last of the honey from the heather before sleeping away winter's days. To walk over the moors in the early morning is a beauty to behold, and to keep in your heart always. I find that hard to say without crying. So
beautiful.
I will try. I will try to translate what you talked before the poem, because I don't.
Yeah. I will put the poem up underneath. I will type it out and I will put that up underneath so people can look at it and do the Google translation later.
Okay.
So I'll let you translate.
A Vanessa, né, ela perguntou como que foi essa transição, essa transmissão de conhecimento, como que ela aprendeu no decorrer de toda essa jornada, essa caminhada toda. E ela falou que, né, vou fazer uma resposta rápida aqui, o aprendizado não foi muito acadêmico, não foi uma coisa de sentar e aprender, né? Foi uma coisa muito natural, muito orgânica, do dia a dia, do cotidiano, de andar pelos lugares. Ela fala ainda, né? Nós nunca fomos muito longe, porque sempre eles paravam para ver as plantas. Ela falava, essa planta serve para determinada coisa, isso para curar isso, né? Uma planta para um determinado unguento, né? Para unguento, né? Que acho que é assim em português, para alguma pomada, para alguma coisa. Então ela sempre foi aprendendo muito no dia a dia, no cotidiano. Foi uma transmissão muito natural, da mesma forma que ela faz com Aaron. Oi?
Exato.
Da mesma forma que ela...
É interessante o que ela falou da avó antes, só voltando na avó, ali ela fala Sim. Que no funeral da avó, que a avó era cantora, a avó era poeta, e a avó era violinista também, né? Então, a avó, no funeral, foi um funeral muito tradicional, e aí ela fala que tinha cavalos, tinha carruagens e tal, e ela cantou, a Susan cantou no funeral da avó, e todas as pessoas ficaram espantadas, porque parecia que era a avó. Então, assim, as pessoas estavam vendo a voz dela muito parecida com a da avó dela, e as pessoas ficaram espantadas, parecia a avó dela, mais jovem ali cantando, né, e foi uma coisa bem memorável para ela, né, e a mãe teve essa questão, né, de passar para ela a coisa das plantas, das flores, qual a função de cada uma, para que, o que serve essa planta, para que, né, essa flor, né, qual a função de cada uma delas, e foi um aprendizado gradual, né, e aí o filho dela, né, ela passa isso para o filho dela, né?
Não, é exatamente isso. Ela vai escrevendo textos para ele, né?
Can I ask you a question, Andre? Can I ask Andre a question?
Yeah, sure.
Your turn. So, you have explained to me the way that you came to paganism, but I'm going to go back further than that. I'm going to ask, because of the way you are, do you feel inside you the DNA and the former pagan religions that were in Brazil? Do you feel that strongly inside of you, that you're carrying that as well?
Yeah, I'm start to study witchcraft and paganism when I was 12 years old, I believe, and I don't know why. I don't know why this idea came from me. I don't know how to start on my head, and my mother and my father put me to study on the Catholic Church, like everyone in Brazil, almost everyone in Brazil. When I don't finish this class very well. I'm run away from this class, but I don't know why. I don't know what happened in that time. So the witchcraft and paganism came from me, and I don't know where this start. So my father and my mother are Catholic. My they parents I don't know very well. I don't have a lot of contact with they. So I believe there's something more. I believe there's something in my past that I came to the present time. I know that my family came from Portugal and Italy, but I don't know idea from where exactly. But
Ah.
I bring to me a lot of feelings, and I don't know, this can, I don't know. Vanessa, me ajuda. Isso pode parecer um pouco estranho. This can be a lot of
Can
weirdo.
seem it's weird.
And this can be
It's
a little
weird because you
weirdo,
don't know where.
but I miss, I have some feelings that I miss something that I don't know what is, and places that I don't know where. uh, but I
There
feel this can be real on me. I believe that I'm
probably
sure.
is. In Italy, there are a lot of witches and pagans. And in Italy, you say you come from Portugal and Italy, they used to hide, the witches used to hide, but it was quite, it was in conjunction with Catholicism. So they would go to church, they would do the Catholic thing, but they were also what we call cunning people. People who knew, like your grandmother, knew about herbs, knew about healing, and quite strong witches, and they would have to hide their athames, these, like, I'm trying to show it. They would have to hide
Yeah.
those in a cupboard, keep it away. Um, I've got a close friend who's from Italy, and the crossover between Catholic and witchcraft was natural. So maybe that is where it comes from in you, from that. So, which
Mhm.
do you want to translate that before I talk about something else? Do you want to
Yeah.
translate?
In Portuguese, I can talk better.
You're doing okay.
Uh,
I can't. Only one word. Beijo.
beijos.
Bagel.
Bagels, yeah. A Susan me perguntou se eu. Ela conhece a minha história dentro do paganismo. Eu já contei para ela que eu venho de família católica, de família cristã, e eu não tenho ninguém anterior a mim que tenha estudado ou passado pela bruxaria ou pelo paganismo de alguma forma, não que eu conheça. E ela me perguntou se eu sinto, né, se eu acho que isso pode ter sido trazido através do meu DNA de alguma forma, esse paganismo possa ter vindo através dos tempos, dessa hereditariedade, né? E eu falei que eu acredito que sim, porque como eu não tenho contato com nenhuma outra, não tive contato com isso antes, eu comecei no paganismo com 12 anos, 11, 12 anos, quando eu comecei, e eu estava terminando como que chama? A primeira comunhão, né, fazendo o catecismo na Igreja Católica, E aí eu terminei e eu debandei para o paganismo, né? Eu não queria fazer aquilo, eu faltava, eu cabulava, eu fugia. Então, isso veio para mim de uma forma muito natural e espontânea, que eu não sei dizer de onde é. E como eu tenho, né, eu sei que a minha família, uma parte de pai vem de Portugal e uma parte vem da Itália, ela comenta, né, que na Itália isso é muito forte, né, que o paganismo, a bruxaria é muito forte na Itália e ele tem uma conjunção ali com o cristianismo, né? Eles vão para a igreja, que né, ela fala isso, né, eles precisam se esconder, né? É verdade. Então tem muito essa.
As pessoas precisam.
Travou, Van.
Tá com delay.
Tá, eu não te ouvi, tá? Deu uma travada.
Tá, ok.
Mas,
continua.
mas é isso. Eu acredito que sim, que possa ser alguma coisa hereditária e é isso. Vamos continuar. Let's go, Susan. Let's continue.
Oh, right.
Can you?
Okay. So let's talk about collective memory. Collective memory.
Yeah. What we can start with? What is collective memory, and what you can talk to us about this?
Okay. Well, some people will believe in it, and some people won't. But
okay,
some people have mannerisms, like they may go like this, and somebody will say, "Oh, your grandmother used to do that." So they might have certain traits, even in your facial recognition. I mean, I look like my mother now. I know I do. Hang on, where are we? Yeah. We look alike.
Yeah.
So, but the memories of things that have gone before are in your DNA, and the DNA collects the information and passes it on to each generation. And if you go back one generation, you have a grandmother on that side and a grandmother on that side. So you have two grandmothers. And then you go back another generation. So you have four grandmothers, four grandfathers. Go back another generation. And that's not very far. Great grandmother. So suddenly you have 16. Then you have 32. Then you have 48. So in 100 years, you will have a lot of this DNA information. Not always does a certain trait or something come out in your generation. It might come out in your son's generation. It might come out in the next one. This is why it is very important to speak to your children and pass on information. Pass on the information that you know. On the Orkney Islands in Scotland, there is a tradition of telling stories. And in the winter on the Orkney Islands, it's freezing cold. The wind and the sea is... So they sit by their fires and they tell stories to their next generation. So say something bad has happened in a generation going back, maybe a famine, your DNA will have that. How to survive in your DNA, because it changes. It changes the person's DNA, the next one. So certain events can make the DNA change. And they have proved this, that in a famine, certain people do certain things. Different people do different things. And you may find that down the line, your great-great-grandparents were hungry, you know, and they had to cope with that. So that can be passed on down the generations. I will give you some examples. I can sing. My father sang, my mother sang, my grandmother sang. I'm lucky I have a good voice. My niece can make things with her hands. My great-great-great-great-grandfather, he was a tailor, doing sewing.
Wow.
And my daughter earns her living, or she did earn her living, sewing. No training, didn't know how she did it, no patterns. She just could cut and sew. One day, my mother says to me, "Oh, no wonder she can sew. That's because her great-great-great-grandfather could sew." And I went, "Oh, okay. Thank you for telling me." I can read palms. I do, well, I did do palmistry. Reading palms, yeah?
Wow.
Okay.
I did it professionally. Didn't know why I could do it, didn't know why. One day my mother says to me, "Oh, your auntie." And I have a photo of her. I look like her. She was a famous palmist. Didn't you know? And I went, "No." 2 examples. There's several more. There's loads more. So, you know, have you got a trait, Vanessa? Have you got? Oh, you better explain that in Portuguese, hadn't you? Explain that. Then I'll ask Vanessa a question. Good luck.
I will try.
Luck.
Eu perguntei para ela o que era memória coletiva, né? Ela citou, você me ajuda. Ela citou o que é memória coletiva e eu perguntei para ela o que é essa memória coletiva, né? E ela comenta que essa herança, esse DNA que a gente falou agora há pouco, que a gente traz dos nossos antepassados, ela cita lá no comecinho da fala dela, nós temos um avô e uma avó de cada lado. Então, nós temos 2 e 2. Esse avô e essa avó, cada um também tem 2 de cada lado. Essa árvore ela vai ganhando galhos, vai ganhando folhas, vai ganhando cada vez mais pessoas, né? Cada um desses 4 acima tem mais 2. Esse número vai se multiplicando, vai se tornando cada vez maior. E nós vamos herdando características, DNA, né, memórias dessas pessoas, memórias de comportamento. Ela fala do, né, mannerism, something like this, que são as manias que nós temos, né? O porquê que as pessoas se comportam e têm os jeitos, o jeito parecido. Olha, você se comporta igual ao seu pai, você se comporta igual à sua mãe, né? Sua avó fazia exatamente a mesma coisa, né? A gente traz isso dentro da gente. Imagina a quantidade de informação que nós comportamos dentro de nós, né, e o quanto nós herdamos no decorrer disso tudo, né? E aí ela começa a contar, ela dá... Eu tô pulando algumas coisas para o tempo render, que ela faz leitura de mão, por exemplo, né? E ela não sabe de onde ela vem, ela faz leitura de mão profissional, ela não sabe de onde vem. E aí um dia a mãe dela falou, sua tia faz, né? E aí ela foi perceber quem era, foi identificar. There's a motorcycle here. Oh, nice. Thank you, guys. Thank you. E a tia dela também fazia leitura de mão e ela herdou isso. Ela faz essa leitura e ela não sabe de onde isso vem, né? Então, assim, tem alguns comportamentos que a gente vai herdando no decorrer da vida, a gente vai manifestando. How Susan say when we begin this talk, all the females on my family are psychics, right, Susan?
Yes, yes, yeah. We have that ability. This is not for me. I used to phone my mother up if I have premonitions. For me, I have premonitions, which is like seeing the future. Not always
Okay.
good. I do not ask for this gift, it comes to me. So I used to phone her if I had a premonition, and some of them were not very nice. And I said, "Oh, what can I do? What can I do? I have this knowledge now." And we would talk about it, and she would say, "You mustn't tell them. You mustn't tell them what you know. Just sit back and let it all happen." And it's very difficult because I could see sometimes a tragedy coming, and I couldn't tell them. I must just keep quiet because maybe they would think I was mad, maybe they think I was bonkers. But my
Can I
premonitions always come true. I don't
can
have
I
premonition, but for me, is it a curse or is it a blessing? Because to
yeah,
see things is very frightening, but sometimes they're very strong. Not very often for me. Maybe once every 2 years, I have this massive premonition of things, and I just it's difficult. It's a gift, but it's a hard gift to have for me.
Yeah.
Because it affects me. It affects me a lot. So, but my sister is what they call a psychic, and she works on a platform, and she does readings, psychic readings. My mother used to do this. Me, I did palmistry.
okay.
And there's another one that I was taught by my mother, which is called, I'm going to see if I can say it, abacamancy, which is the Greek word for sand, which is Egyptian sand reading. Have you heard of that?
Sandry.
Yeah,
I
sand reading.
never did.
I heard.
Abacamancy. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly.
Abacamancy.
But my mother, this is what my mother did. She would carry the sand. I'd go to the special beach, the magical beach, dig the sand. We would carry a bucket of sand, and she had a tray with seashells and a comb, and then would pour the sand from the seashells and do readings, read divination. So
Yeah. Sorry.
that's okay. I can do divination as well. But anyway, do you want to explain that? Wow.
Ah, eu comentei, né, que ela falou no começo da conversa que todas as mulheres da família dela têm alguma, né, o que eles chamam de psychic, né, que são médiums, tem algum tipo de desenvolvimento psíquico nesse sentido, né, acho que é a tia que faz essa leitura de areia, é isso? Eu não registrei essa fala. Faz uma leitura egípcia, né, faz uma leitura egípcia que ela chamou de abacamancy, right, Susan?
Abacamancy. Yeah, abacamancy.
Abacamancy.
The Greek amathos, amathos, meaning sand.
Okay. A mãe dela tinha algumas habilidades também. Ela tem a leitura das mãos, e que eles têm que tomar um cuidado, né? Porque o que, ao mesmo tempo que pode ser uma bênção, também pode ser uma maldição, porque às vezes você prevê uma tragédia, você antecipa uma tragédia, e a única coisa que você pode fazer é sentar e observar, porque você não pode interferir no curso natural das coisas, né? Susan, there's a, can I...
Oh, go on. I wanted to ask Vanessa a question. Vanessa,
yeah, you can.
Have you got psychic abilities? Have you?
When
Vanessa?
I was a kid, I had, but I had the ability was I used to see people who died earlier, but it was really frightening. I remember one day I was playing tennis in my house, and I saw my mother's aunt who was dead. So it was really frightening for me. I didn't work on it after that. I saw another things later, but I was really frightened. So I didn't, how can I say, I guess I blocked this. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I guess I blocked this gift. I don't know if it's or bad, but when I was a kid, maybe my parents didn't have the ability to bring me in to someone to teach me or to explain to me. And my grandmother, she was a psychic, but she also wanted to teach me some things, but I didn't want. I was too afraid of it.
How old were you when you saw your auntie? What age?
About 8, 9.
Yeah, it's very young.
8, 9.
I saw people all the time from as far back as I can remember, and I would tell my stepmother, and she'd say, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" So it was nice to have a relationship with my birth mother, with Sylvia Rose, because it made me feel normal. Not normal, it made me feel okay about it all, because I'd been a bit strange as a child. But I saw people all the time.
Yeah.
I lived with
until today.
Yeah. I live with people in my house, former spirits. And I'm not frightened by it, because I've come to an understanding with it. And I think maybe one day we will have a talk about that. And maybe you can think about opening up again, opening up this gift that you have, because there was a reason why that auntie showed herself to you. Yeah?
Yes.
There was a reason. And they were maybe asking you something. So you need to interpret that now. Andre, you need to speak in Portuguese.
A Susan tá... É legal porque eu entendo, mas eu não sei falar nada. A Susan tá falando que a Vanessa, ela perguntou se a Vanessa tem algum tipo de psiquismo, de algum dom nesse sentido, e a Vanessa contou que, né, quando tinha 9 anos de idade, viu a tia dela, que já tinha falecido, né, e que ela bloqueou de alguma forma ali, ela preferiu bloquear e não desenvolver, e a Susan falou, né, que isso. E a Susan falou que se isso está aí é por algum motivo, né? Que talvez devesse compreender, desenvolver de alguma maneira essa essa habilidade, porque talvez essa tia gostaria de falar alguma coisa, passar algum recado, afinal de contas, eu penso, né, é sua tia, né, é que assusta, né, a gente pode conversar sobre isso, como ela falou, numa próxima, ainda mais para uma criança de 9 anos, né, a Susan vive com né, there are two spirits in your house, right, Susan?
Not now, but there were in my old.
Okay.
One was okay, one was fine, one was a lady, and one was a male, and the male was not okay. Used to frighten people in the house. If somebody came, like a plumber came one day, and he said he could hear the footsteps going behind him, and he went, "Who's that?"
This
and
is not so good.
Don't worry about him, I said. But I lived.
He's a friend of mine.
But he was no friend. He wasn't nice.
Yeah.
And several people have said, "Oh my God, I've seen this awful person," and I go,
Yeah.
"Don't worry, they won't harm you. They won't harm you." So I lived with them, and I was okay with them. And when people said, "Oh, somebody was leaning over me," I went, "Oh, that's okay. She's all right." But we haven't got long. I want to show you some of the things I have inherited. This is my mother's
Susan.
Yeah.
Susan, before this, can I tell you something? Can I tell you a little story? When I'm younger, I see and feel a lot of stuff. People walking in my bedroom. Dreams when I wake, a woman right here in my face. Okay, I don't. As I said, as I tell you, my father and my father and my mother don't believe in this. So I shut my mouth and don't tell to nobody. And before when I grow, I'm going to study this on the spiritism home, on the Kardec home.
Yeah.
And now my son Vitor, I tell you one time, we are on my room, and he looks to the hall. Oh, there's a man there. I saw a man, and he started to cry. Cry a lot. There's a man, and we asked to him, how is this man? And this a man is tall, and he has a horn. And oh, there's a horn. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. But he still with he has some fear about this. And when he entered in the house, oh, I don't like this house. I'm not feel so good here. In other house he's okay. In other house, oh, I don't want to stay here. I want to go out.
Yeah. Wow.
3 years old. 3 years old.
Yes, he is. I went into a house once. I was looking for a new house, and I walked into a house. It was like a farm in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful house in a forest. And I went, "Oh," I said, "This is something terrible has happened here. Something terrible has happened here. I cannot live in this. I can't." I said, "I have to get out." And my husband, who didn't believe in anything like this, said, "Oh, don't be so silly. Don't be so silly." I said, "No, something terrible has happened here. A murder has happened here. A murder." And I asked the estate agent what had happened. And he was like, why, have you heard? And a murder had happened there. And they were selling the house. Somebody had gone away. And I knew the room it was done in. It was done in the bathroom. I have my hair rising when I think of it. So Victor has this passed on to him. So for him, like me and like Vanessa, it's a blessing, but sometimes what we call a burden as well, because knowing these things sometimes can be very frightening. I'm okay now with it, but I'm an old lady, so it doesn't matter. But Victor,
But you're a young boy. Yeah.
When I see Victor, I saw all of this, that he is like this. He's a very, very magical child. Very magical child. So again, passing down, you are giving him the hereditary pagan life by doing ceremonies in your house, by teaching him playing the drums. He feels it inside. You can see it when he moves. So, you know, you are passing on your knowledge to him as well. Passing it on. Do you want to explain that? And then I will show you some of the things that I have inherited from my mother.
I just talk about all this in other lives, so we can go.
Oh, okay. Well,
we can go. Everybody knows about me.
All right, fair enough. This is one of the things I've inherited from my mother. I can't put it on right. Oh, it's very wonky. It's looking very. I just hold it. This, can you see it? Yeah, it's got the mirror.
Yeah.
This has a mirror in it, and it's made of copper. And this was made by her husband, who was a high priest, and he was an engineer. Donald. Very, very nice man, very educated man, a very lovely man. So he made her crown, and this, which is really heavy, very heavy. And he made, sorry, this way round. I'm trying to show it to you. It's beautifully made, and it's heavy, very heavy, and it has.
Is it iron?
Sorry.
Is it made of iron?
Steel. This is steel and brass. Steel and brass with a crystal on the end. But upstairs, he made a big ankh cross, and Psalter is so heavy I can hardly lift it. He was very clever, and this was their drinking horn. Their drinking horn. So I have inherited hundreds and hundreds of books, first editions of Janet Farrar. My mother knew Janet Farrar, and lots of books. Lady Rhea, one of her first books that Alexander knows. Lots. I've got a first edition of a Gerald Gardner book. So I've inherited a library of witchcraft and paganism. And
we can talk about this.
Another time.
Yeah, sure.
I've inherited all their gods and goddesses that my mother collected. And also she was a carver. She carved. I've shown you that before, haven't I? The carving, the goddess carving my mother did.
Yeah.
So she was a very, very good wood sculpture person. I've never done it, but who knows, I might. So I've inherited all of these things, and they were the first thing she said to me: you must get those out the house, get them out the house and get them to your house and put them up in your altar room, because I have a room, a meditation room. And her two staffs, Donald, who made these things, his staff and her staff and her wands. This is a very unusual wand. I'm trying to show it to you.
Wow.
It has two snakes. So this is my mother's wand. Can you see it? Is it okay? Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was her wand, and I have his wand. So there's the snake at the bottom there, and the two snakes going out. I've never seen a wand like this before. I've not seen one like it before. So I've inherited all the magical tools and the library that they put together. They were in a big circle in Cornwall, and she was in one in Devon as well. Everybody knew her, the Pagan Federation, they all knew her, my mother. She's a very kind, quiet person. So I'll pass on some knowledge to you that she gave to me. She said that your path is your path and not somebody else's. She shared knowledge, but she was very definite that her path was her path and my path was my path.
Yeah.
And that you have to learn your own spells, your own incantations. You must research and gather knowledge. And don't be lazy, she would say. Don't be lazy, Susan, and just copy what other people do. You must do this all yourself, even though it's harder to do it yourself. And sometimes she would not tell me something, and she'd go, no, you go and find out. And once you have found out and you have worked something out yourself, it's much better. So
you don't know,
her knowledge to me was go and explore the world, different religions. I've got lots of things, different religions. This is one that I really like. Minoan.
I know.
And make your own knowledge and don't copy other people. Their path is not your path. Sometimes you can be with somebody, like you're married, you Andre, you're with Tata, and your paths can be parallel. But each one of you has to do your own thing so that it makes you grow inside. So that I've given you some knowledge that she gave me.
And this is very important to hear now, because the moment what we live here in Brazil, there's a lot of stuffs in the air, and to hear that we must to search our path and discover about our magic, our everything what you say now. It's very important to us, of course, and more to the new generation who came to study paganism and witchcraft, they must to hear you what you say, what your mother teach to you, and what you teach to us now. This is very important.
It's very important you do it yourself. And she would sometimes not tell me something. No, go and learn that yourself. And I go, oh, okay.
Let me translate this. And
we had a lot of fun. We used to laugh a lot, laugh and laugh and laugh.
yeah.
Anyway, because it's now it's an hour, so I think our friend, are you going to translate that if you can?
Yeah.
Oh.
A Susan tá contando agora, né? Ela mostrou os instrumentos que foram da mãe dela e a forma que a mãe dela, né? Mostrou a coroa que foi o marido da mãe dela que fez, que era um engenheiro, né? Um rapaz muito educado, né? Ele que fez a coroa com o espelho na frente, né? Com a lua ali, o atame, né? Todo que ela fala que é pesado, com o cristal na ponta. Ela mostrou a varinha, né? O bastão que foi da mãe dela. E com duas cobras entrelaçadas, two snakes, né, duas cobras ali entrelaçadas. E agora ela, this one. E ela fala, né, sobre a forma que a mãe dela incentivou ela a aprender. Ela fala que, né, o seu caminho é só o seu caminho, né, não é o caminho de mais ninguém. A Vanessa tem o caminho dela, eu tenho o meu caminho, outras pessoas têm o caminho, né? Vocês que estão assistindo, cada um tem o seu caminho. E por mais que a gente consiga aprender um com o outro, né? Ainda que você aprenda com outra pessoa, ainda é o seu caminho, né? Ainda é. Então, ela fala que a mãe dela às vezes nem ensinava ela, né? Vai lá e faz. Ah, mas eu não sei como fazer. Vai lá e aprende. Né? Você tem que descobrir por conta própria. Ela fala, crie suas próprias magias, crie seus próprios feitiços, descubra como você deve fazer, né? E não somente copiar o que já está pronto. Right, Susan? We can finish now.
Well, Vanessa, I've enjoyed listening to what you said about your grandmother. And I feel that this discussion has opened up maybe something in your path that you can explore more the spirits and not be frightened. We will talk about this later.
Yeah, I understand what you say. Maybe now I feel ready to go on to explore. Maybe when I was a little girl, for me it was really scary. So maybe now is the real time, the perfect time to explore this and to understand better the messages. It was really important. Everything you told me on this conversation, it was really a quick and conversation, but very, very important. I feel I'm really emotional talking to you and talking about my grandmother. It was really special for me.
Good. Well, I will say goodbye in English. Then I will do it in Portuguese.
But first, I can thank you so much to be with us again. And soon we will invite you to talking about spirits and about your witchcraft and the new witchcraft. We can talk about this. We can talk about a lot of stuff.
Oh, it'll be a pleasure. And
to us.
I might sing for you next time. Do you realize it's the first time I haven't sung? But not tonight. another day.
Okay, okay.
I've just finished recording 2 songs for my new CD. I'm doing some chants, so I might play that another time. But I will, when you put this up on Facebook, I will put my mother's poem
Perfect.
so that they can read that and translate it. I'll put her poem.
Okay.
So, to our ancestors, we say thank you to our ancestors.
Thank you so much.
We are the ancestors because you are teaching your son, and I'm teaching my son. My son is 50. So I'm teaching him. You're teaching yours. Are you married, Vanessa, or you have children, or?
Oh no, I'm not married, and I don't have kids.
Oh, never mind. You can teach somebody. You can teach someone. There's always someone around that you can share your knowledge with. Always you can share your knowledge. Like you did today. You've done that today. So a lot of people will listen to what you've said today. And that is a form of hereditary in a way, because you're teaching another generation of your knowledge, sharing it for free, which is good. So, beiju, bagels.
Bagels.
Bagels. It's
Bye bye.
a joke.
Thank you. Bagels.
Bagels.
Bye bye. Bagels,
Ciao.
Susan. Bye bye. Ciao.
Bye.
Susan, thank you.